Welcome to the Full Timers YouTube channel. Today we're going to be training push in This is Arkham up in Carrick. Great gym, probably one of the best in the north of Ireland. So if you do have any time, get up here and train. I've been training for 3 years and I've been pursuing bodybuilding for around a year. I am currently in my 5th week of prep for my first show in September. So we have one in Cork, we've one in Wexford, and then we have one in England. And this is basically just going to be documenting that journey. So we're 5 weeks in and we're still feeling fresh. So let's get after it. Today we're training push, and here is a list of all the exercises.
Fuck's up?
It's D handle, but I'm gonna, what is that? It's fucking big old D handle, like.
See at glute drive, it's absolutely obliterated my glutes. The bits.
Yes.
I'm actually feeling it.
See, ever since his prep has started, all I've heard from him is fucking complaint after complaint after complaint. Some people, they just don't want it. I was flat out complaining the other day, but that wasn't on camera, so it's different.
I'll actually send you screenshots of all the messages, and you can just fire them up on the screen.
Of me crying.
Yeah.
Mate, I feel sore.
Mate, I had a dream the other night that
I didn't come in condition.
No, true story.
Aye.
Finn had a nightmare that he got on stage and he was still fat.
Whenever I'm doing a cuff lateral raise, instead of just having my wrist through the cuff like this here and leaving my fist with nothing to grab onto, I run it with the D handle in hand like that for 2 main reasons. It's going to improve your main muscle connection with the side delt, and it's also going to help keep your elbow joint as healthy as possible because it's actually giving your forearm muscles something to grab onto, and it's not making what's called the points of connection. If you think of it like a chain, you have 1 point here, 1 point here, and 1 point here. If my fist doesn't have anything to grab onto, it's a weak link. So you're literally just strengthening everything in that arm.
Are one of us going to take the hit here and put her phone on?
Put her phone on? Oh, on the speaker? I'm not doing that. Just for someone to say my jeans are shit. You know what I mean?
My music is actually shit. So.
Oh, his is fucking dreadful.
So would you say your music's better?
Yeah.
Yeah, stick around then.
See the way he baited me into that there, like. He turned 26 like 2 weeks ago, so he's officially a boomer and he can't work a speaker. I'm desperate, like. I'm genuinely useless with technology. Know how to work a speaker, but
it's 3 a.m. I just touched down. Wanna call me to buzz down. It's love over lust now.
Big thing that's set up with our single arm lat pull downs is that when it comes to movements like this, especially when it comes to isolated movements, and we're trying to get the most out of them, our breathing is going to affect everything, especially with this here. Any sort of back muscle, we want to ensure that the rib cage can fully expand before we actually lift the weight, to make sure that our muscle actually has something to wrap around. Because if we imagine that our torso or our ribcage is a barrel, the back muscles wrap around it. The bigger we can make that, then the more surface area it has to grab onto. Also the bigger stretch that you're going to get.
another point is every single workout that I do, I log. I think if you look at it from the perspective of each workout is a brick and you're building a house, you do not want to waste a brick at all. So once we have a workout, we're never going to get it back. So you may as well make use of every single workout and log the weights, the reps, and standardize the tempo and range of motion within them workouts as well.
Might not be the final brick, but it might be the foundations.
Write that one down. This here machine is a bit different. than a pack deck for the simple reason, well, one, it's not handles, really more driving your elbow into the pad, which is going to be beneficial because it's going to allow you to shorten the pack a lot easier comparatively to maybe, you know, a standard pack deck where you're grabbing handles, because with this here, we have far less distance to travel because we're obviously driving in with our elbow opposed to our hand. We want to always maintain a proud chest, and from here we are thinking about scooping the elbows round together to fully shorten the pack. Whenever we're just bringing our hands together, we're more losing out on range opposed to whenever our elbows come in tight. Whenever our elbows come in tight, it forces our upper arm to drive into that pack opposed to our hands. Whenever, you know, there's about another 2 inches there before my upper arm is touching that pack. Another thing that I'll always have whenever I am training, especially the deeper into prep that I go, is an intra. An intra is just an easy to digest carb that you would take whenever you're training, and it's going to cause minimal digestive issues, and it's easy to digest, so it goes straight into you. And essentially what this does is keep you full for that bit longer. So whenever you know you have like a hard session, maybe a leg session, I would definitely recommend an intra because it's going to reduce the chance that you feel depleted, especially if you have maybe 2-3 heavy movements like a hack squat or a leg press in that leg session. Another drink I'll always have whenever I'm training is plenty of water. You want to make sure that you're as hydrated as possible around your training window, as it's going to be the most important to stay hydrated because you're going to be losing the most fluids. Now, in terms of what is actually in this, it is a litre of water, some dilute, and also 1 scoop of HydroFlow, which is just a hydration formula to help an extra bit with staying hydrated.
So whenever we're setting up a Smith, whenever we're trying to line it up, instead of trying to eyeball it the whole time, the best thing to do is actually drop the bar onto the actual bench so that we can figure out where the midpoint is, and whenever we set up, we're actually in line with the midpoint rather than being off to the side a bit, feeling a bit out of place, and then the exercise going to shit. Is that mid for you?
See, for me, that would be a high incline. Like.
So this is the argument. But so this would be Finn's high incline, whereas this is my sort of mid incline setup. What is somebody's mid incline? What is someone's high incline? And I do actually think it's determined on the person and the way their anatomy is set up. So of course I have much longer limbs than Finn has, and my rib cage may be a tiny bit more wide. Also, it could determine on like where our insertions are for our muscles and things like that there. But the biggest thing here is that as long as we have an agreement of where that point is for both of us, then we're in the same boat. Also, sensation is probably another good point. Of course, like if you have it lined up properly, sensation will just be a byproduct of it whenever it is set up properly, but it is another point to take in.
You should never be chasing the pump in the gym, so you should never be chasing that feeling of blood rushing into your muscle. That should just come as a byproduct of proper execution and proper technique. You should never be going into every set saying, right, I need to feel the muscle as much as possible. You should just be feeling it because the execution is correct. That is so smooth, isn't it? It's probably the nicest Smith machine I've ever touched. It's brilliant.
It is something we've touched about in other gyms, even in the previous video we touched on it. Like, good machine choices are such a
second to none. Like, it's so important, especially if you are someone who is interested in chasing the 1%. Good equipment inside a good gym is one of the most important things that you can look for if you are someone who is looking to chase the 1%.
Like, you should never use it as an excuse, but if you do want to take this as seriously as possible, probably is worth maybe spending that extra 10 minutes traveling to a good gym, or spending that extra £10 to £15 on a monthly membership. It's not even that every bit of equipment coming out of these companies is shit. It's just that, like, 9 out of 10 Cybex bits of equipment are good.
Yeah.
9 out of 10 Prime are good. 1 out of 100 Watson feels okay. Doesn't feel like you're going. It doesn't feel like you're going to snap something.
Oh, look at that! His wrist just snaps.
Finn on the weekly talks me into doing stupid shit. We've actually got the gym to ourselves again.
The people know.
All the part-timers just disperse out of gyms when they see us coming. Also, a point for any non-gym goers or just sort of beginners. If you ever hear us talking about a plate and a half, plate plus whatever, a plate is just 20 kilos. It just means that there's a plate on each side, which means 120 on each side. So right now we're rocking with 2 plates. Finn mentioned 2 plates and a half, which would be 2 plates and a 10. It's one of the harder things to determine, especially whenever you're on machines that you haven't used before, or maybe you're moving up. Like some days you feel really, really good and you feel like you have it. Like on days like this, I feel moderate. I don't feel bad, I don't feel great. And it's hard to determine whether or not this is going to make or break a set, because like I said in the previous videos before, like we want to make sure that we make the most out of every single set and we're chasing that every week. So I don't want to waste the opportunity by either undershooting it, 'cause, like I don't believe in myself, or also letting my ego take control, me firing 3 plates in this and Finn has to come over and stop me from decapitating myself at rep number 2. So,
and then just adding on that, like if you ever are in a gym environment where you're not really familiar with the equipment, take your time. There's no rush to get your heaviest set. Like there I did a plate for 5, 2 plates for 1. And the reason I did that 2 plates for 1 rep is simply just to feel it, because it's heavy enough to the point where it's going to cause some type of fatigue. But if I just do 1 rep, I still have most of my energy in the tank for my top set, which is going to be 2 plates and a 5 kg on top of it.
And a lot of the time it is just the sensation of getting a heavier weight in your hand is going to prepare you to go up.
So that's an important point. Like whenever you're spotting someone and they kind of hit a sticking point halfway through, try not to panic and almost take the weight off them. Just help them enough to where they can complete the rep by themselves, because you're still going to get an amazing amount of stimulus from that half rep, even if it was assisted.
I overshot it by a bit. Finn had to spot me on the 5th one, and don't get me wrong, it could have been a lot worse. I could have definitely overshot the bollocks out of it. It was still a decent set, but it does give me a good bit of data getting into my back off set to know what to lift. And to be honest, it's not a bad guesstimation for what was first time using this machine, and also having to, of course, progress from a different machine. I guess the upside of it is as well that Finn just watched me do that set, and after going big balls for a wee second there, he's realised, no, that's a stupid idea.
These here are called wrist wraps, and all they do is essentially allow for a bit of extra stability at the wrist. That way you can kind of move more weight. Now a lot of people would take somewhat of a moral high ground with equipment like knee sleeves, wrist wraps, belts, even straps being the biggest one. Like if I can get another rep by using equipment, then I'm going to use the equipment if it means getting a better set, because I do more reps, which is in turn going to lead to more stimulus, because at the end of the day, I'm a bodybuilder.
Much better than the first. Drive it home. Let's go. Come on. It's yours, Finn. It's yours. Come on. Oh.
5 reps, which is exactly the bottom end of my rep range. Now you'll notice at the end, I did take a breath at the top. Now all this allowed me to do is to reset and collect myself maybe 1 to 2 breaths to kind of drop off a tiny bit of fatigue before going straight back in to complete the 5th rep. Like at the minute, me and Donal's chests are both blown. They're fucked. They're in serious pain, and that's due to proper technique and the correct setup, because we're not chasing the pump. The pump just comes as a byproduct because we know where the bench is supposed to be. We know where the bar, how far down it's supposed to be going, and we're doing that with good technique. So we're controlling it on the eccentric and we're coming the whole way back up.
With all the exercises, we have 3 pillars of progression. I think one of them, the third one, isn't really talked about much, but everyone's always chasing the reps or the load, and everyone always forgets about form. So I think if you can progress any of those 3 in a lift, it's progress for the week. So there's a possibility that maybe, like, I only got that set of 4 there. If I was to come back here next week and say I was to do that set of 4 again, but my tempo was better, and say on that 4th rep I took a bit more control into a good depth and drove out of it and still got the same at the reps, form is better. Like, I see that as a win for the week, and I think that again ties back into them 1%, the 1% better. Like, you can't always like die on a negative, you gotta look at the positives. I'm not saying pull the positive out of nothing, but definitely look for them. Interesting thing about this piece of kit is that we can change the resistance profile by loading one of these 3 pins. So we know that with resistance profiles, there's a short, a mid, and a lengthened, and that's it. All 3 of these pins load. Of course, when it comes to hypertrophy, the biggest driver of hypertrophy is definitely going to be a lengthened muscle. But if we can load this in different ways, it means that we can actually load it in a way that it'll drop off in positions that we're weaker in, which one being the shortened. You don't get that option with a lot of machines, especially ones that just sort of moved in a fixed plane. So whenever it does come to having these options, whether or not Finn's going to go for this bit of machine or this one, it can be a very different choice on how it's going to feel and also what he's going to get out of this set. Just to touch on it as well, like, Arkham is probably your kind of 1 in 100 type of gym, and especially being from where we're from, like, there's a lot of things that are backwards, and to be honest, we're a wee bit behind on times when it comes to anything, to be honest. Everything and anything, and it is all due to previous history in our country, of course. But the fact is that whenever people actually start to delve deeper into trying to pick very specific equipment, especially when it comes to gyms, again, it makes that massive difference. Like, this place is amazing. I genuinely couldn't say there's one piece of equipment that's shit in it. It really speaks about Curtis as a person, what he wants to do for the fitness industry. He's definitely a really good guy, but you can see within the effort and especially the amount of money he's put into this gym, it is going to be an amazing gym. It is already an amazing gym, but you can see it is going to grow as the fitness industry just gets better and better within the north of Ireland, Belfast.
Most people are starting to click on to, fitness just because of the abundance of information to do with how to train, good equipment, etc. But like, in here, it is honestly, like Donal said, it's probably one of the best, honestly, one of the best training facilities in Ireland. If you're interested in bodybuilding and you're actually really passionate about it, like I was saying in the previous exercise, like, if you're chasing down the 1% and you are looking for somewhere that has top-notch equipment, this is Arkham is definitely up on the list if you do live in the north of Ireland.
Drive home. Aggressive. Nice, Smith. How are you feeling finishing off the 5th week of prep, going into our 6th?
It's an experience, and I do think that it would be stupid to wish it away, especially considering in my lifetime anyway, I'll probably only be stage lean maybe a handful of times, maybe 5 or 6 times, as far as I can see it as a natural, purely because of the fact, as a natural, you do have to take much longer off seasons if you do want to put on actual meaningful muscle mass, purely because we do not have the luxury of PEDs.
Same as in our past unilateral exercises, we want to take at least a minute break in between the limbs, not because the other arm is exhausted, of course, but mainly because our cardiovascular system has taken a hit, and we want to make sure that it's ready, and also our central nervous system, make sure both of those are ready to go into the other arm, rather than jumping in just because, yes, this arm's fresh, but is every other variable fresh? Probably not. A minute, get your breath back, get the blood pressure back down. Well, our arsenal out of the bag to beat people to death with. 2 litre jug.
Along with his 6 foot long fucking tripod.
It's also nice while Arkham's not very well known or accessible to people, we still get sessions like this.
Yeah.
Like it's a Saturday afternoon and there's one hour guy here. And then, like Finn said, when he walked in, he just looked that ugly that the people left.
On this piece of equipment, which is seated dip, a seatbelt here. But the purpose of the seatbelt is to keep you as stable as possible at the hips, especially whenever we're driving down, because it will get you a certain weight that the weight would just lift you up. So if you don't have a seatbelt, I would definitely recommend buying one, because you can use it on things like a seated dip machine, a leg extension, and anything that really requires a high degree of hip stability. You see so many people doing dips and they just do half reps. So they're just going to like here, whereas we want to stimulate as much muscle growth as possible. So in order for us to do that, my upper arm is always breaking a 90-degree angle. We have to get as deep into the stretch as we can. So at the minute, I am currently in prep, which means I'm in a diet phase. So calories are down, expenditure's up, cardio is up as well. And a lot of people have this notion that because I'm in a diet phase, my numbers should be dropping off, I should be getting weaker. But at the end of the day, you're only going to get weaker if you approach your training with that mentality. And it's a weak mentality, because you should be going into every single movement within a session and still be aiming to progress no matter what.
I am a product of putting my curses to rest on my family tree. Can see growth, they tell me they free, but they work for the man. I can't relate, I did it on my own.
So whenever I'm doing my lateral raises, I use lifting straps. And the reason for this is the only limiting factor should be the muscle that you're trying to work. I don't want my grip strength to be the reason why I didn't get an extra 2 and extra 1 rep on a lateral raise. I'm not saying the basics don't matter, but the 1% definitely add up, and success does leave clues. If you look at any guy at the top, they're all chasing the 1%. So there's no reason, if you're aspiring to be to that level, that you shouldn't either.
Oh, come here. You're gonna go through phases as you are cutting. I think it does play a factor on your sort of mentality and where you're at with things. You will be flat, you will maybe not be losing at the rate you want to lose. And sometimes those phases can last a week, sometimes last like 2 or 3 days. Sometimes it just feels like it's a lot longer than it is, but it is all part of the experience and it just adds to it. These are reoccurring themes, these things happen. And you'll know as well, most of the time whenever you have to go through a really shit phase or shit stage, something good is at the top of the hill. You'll probably realise as me and Finn get further and further in the prep, and as each video goes on, become less and less talkative, a wee bit less energetic, and it is all just due to prep. We understand that, but of course some people around us don't understand it, and trying to navigate that with our relationships, whether that is like a girlfriend, your family member, your friends. It's good to have a good support system around you that understand what you're going through and understand what you're doing is for the good of your health It's also a big goal and it's very important to you. Of course, we're going to go through points where we're frustrated at maybe external factors, and you take it out on your loved ones, and that's unfortunate, of course. But having people around you that are understanding and that support you the way through, they are invaluable people that you shouldn't let go.
So whenever you're doing any type of curl variation, you always want to make sure your underarm is always stuck to the bench like that there. This is just going to limit any type of movement that we don't want, as we want to purely isolate the bicep. You don't really want any external movement through the shoulders or lifting up the arms, just cheating yourself. Just a big meathead, no mobility. Up. No.
Nothing left there for me.
This guy, part-timer. Did you see? I'll demonstrate. Oh! Fuck, he made a dick out of me early, to be fair. I want to lift that.
Heavy in it?
And to be fair, mate, I could definitely lift that. It's just I have warmed up. Whenever you're doing really any type of tricep movement, you always want to make sure that at some point your forearm is coming in tight to your bicep, because that is whenever your tricep is going to be fully lengthened. Most hypertrophic benefits come in the length and range of a movement compared to the shortened. So the shortened and the tricep extension would be there. Is hypertrophic even a word?
I'm dyslexic, I know it's not a word.
Sounds like it should be a word. So this is my last movement in this session, and being able to stay locked in, especially in the last maybe 2-3 exercises, does become increasingly hard. But like anything, it is a skill, and if you do continue to try and stay locked in the later half of your session, you will continually get better at staying locked in. The deeper in the prep we go, we'll become almost robotic, which will be exciting to see for everyone else, not us. Like,
I talk with my eyes, but
fuck me, like what a dick. Talk with my eyes, fuck off. Let my actions do the talking.
my actions, I get the fuck away from myself.
It's not, you just want.
Why are you doing talking so much?
Do you mean that he just becomes a fucking...
No, he's at work, Finn.
Aye, cut that out. Becomes an idiot. So you'll notice that me and Donal don't scream whenever we train. Now, there's a difference between screaming in your sets and involuntary noise, because the set is actually difficult. Involuntary noise is perfectly fine because you're not doing it deliberately, but screaming during your set provides no actual benefit, and it actually weakens you internally, because if you're screaming, it means you're letting out your breath, which means that you're losing your brace. And if it's something like a hack squat or a stiff leg, you're definitely gonna wanna keep that brace on. It's gonna let you create more force.
Gorgeous, isn't it? Definitely not something that we see very often, but the Cybex Bravo comes with a back support or a front support, and great to brace yourself off of, so that we're not trying to use internal support all the time. We actually have external support, which means that you have to do less work and can exert more force through the mechanism which we're trying to actually train, a bicep curl. So instead of me having to focus on bracing my core, maybe planting on my feet, this is very, very helpful.
That left arm's like a roadmap, still a big fat cunt. So that's episode 2 of the Road to Stage Complete. It's been a blast up here at This Is Arkham, one of the best gyms that you could go to in the north.
Thank you, Curtis, for giving us the opportunity to train here, and also video for the YouTube channel. This is the second of many videos that are to come on the Finn Timers YouTube channel. Fuck me, that was good, wasn't it? Nothing bad, like.